Dear colleagues, greetings from Zagreb, Croatia. My name is Tatjana Josipovic. I am law professor and teach civil law on the faculty of Law University of Zagreb. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Torres for the invitation to participate in the conference. Unfortunately, the situation caused by coronavirus is so difficult in all our countries that we cannot meet and discuss the problems caused by virus on the other way, but only by internet. Today, I shall talk about impact of COVID-19 crisis on tourism in Croatia. My presentation is divided in 5 parts. I shall briefly present the role of tourism industry in the Croatian economy and describe some recent developments in tourism caused by the COVID-19 crisis. I shall talk about temporary measures in the economy and temporary measures in the tourist sector against the bad effects of COVID crisis on economy, but the main part of my presentation is focused on amendments of the Tourism Services Act concerning Travel Package Directive. According to the World Bank forecast, the COVID-19 crisis is expected to cause a recession in Croatia in 2020, particularly because the Croatia heavily relies on tourism. Successful fiscal consolidation of recent years might be reversed. Croatia is set for a deep recession. According to the World Bank, this year the global COVID crisis might reduce Croatia GDP by 6.2%. Prolonged disruptions in global supply chains and a falling demand, especially when it comes to traveling and tourism being the single most important sector in the Croatian economy, could all lead to an even stronger economic recession. Croatia's tourism, being the most important sector of Croatian economy, is expected to be affected because of extensive travel bans and slowed down activities in the major Croatian trading partners. The COVID-19 crisis might have repercussions for both export and import of goods and services, particularly tourism and the hospitality services. Statistics on number of arrivals and overnight stays in the first 3 months of 2020, especially in March 2020, have confirmed the COVID-19 negative impact on tourism. According to the e-visitor data, in the first 3 months of 2020, the number of tourists and overnights decreased. In March, there were in Croatia 75% less tourists compared in the same period of 2019. About 65,000 were foreign tourists, which constitute a drop of 80% compared with the March 2000. In March 2020, the number of overnight stays decreased by 53%. In March 2020, there were 65% less foreign overnight stays, and domestic overnight stays were lower by 24%. Compared with January and February 2020, in March we registered a significant drop in the number of arrivals and overnight stays of both domestic and foreign tourists. In general, the bookings have stopped and any bookings for the following period have been cancelled. There are also ongoing cancellation of arrivals for the main season and all bookings have been postponed until 2021. The arrivals and overnight stays of tourists have dropped sharply in relation to any country from which tourists used to arrive in Croatia in previous years. The government has prepared a package of temporary measures intended to mitigate the negative effects of COVID-19 crisis on economy. The package includes inter alia deferred tax payments, support for the preservation of jobs and a moratorium on the payment of loans to development and commercial banks. The measures include the securing of loans for liquidity and working capital and the establishment of a new financial instrument, the COVID-19 loans for small and medium enterprises. The measures apply to all departments where there is a need for intervention in this situation, including the tourist and hospitality sector. The Ministry of Tourism and the Croatian government have introduced special measures for the tourist sector to mitigate the financial impact of the pandemic on the touristic sector and to help its survival through the non-touristic business year. The most important thing is to ensure the retention of jobs and the liquidity of companies and entities in the sector of tourism so they can resume their work as soon as possible following the crisis. The duration of the permanent season measure is extended to that seasonal workers receiving off-season benefits do not lose their jobs. Other temporary measures were also introduced, for example, postponement of the payment of the tourist tax for private renters, postponement of the payment of flat rate income tax, abolishment of the half or the whole amount of the annual lump sum for the tourist tax, postponement of the payment of the concession fee on the tourist land owned by the Republic of Croatia. Additional temporary measures were introduced for moratorium on loan payments, for special financing by Croatian Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or for higher financial borrowing by tourist boards. By the amendments of the Tourism Services Act, special measures have been regulated to avoid negative economic developments in the tourist sector caused by epidemia. One of the measures has been to expressly provide for the contractual relations between travelers and organizers of the package travel arrangements in the conditions of the pandemic. On the one hand, a new right of a traveler to terminate a non-performed package travel contract that should have taken place after the 1st March 2020 has been introduced. On the other hand, to protect the organizer from insolvency, the organizer's obligation to a full refund of all payments has been postponed for 180 days following the cessation of special circumstances. The organizer were obliged to issue vouchers for non-performed package travel contracts instead of refunding package arrangements. The Tourism Services Act provides for a special definition of special circumstances. Special circumstances are an event or a particular situation which could not have been foreseen or prevented and which constitutes a danger for citizens' lives and health, for their property of higher value, or which causes a significant damage to environment, to economic activities, or sustains major economic damage. Now we have, beside the definition taken from the Package Travel Directive about unavoidable and extraordinary circumstances, a new definition of special circumstances. And we have a new article in the Act where there is a provision on a special traveler's right to terminate a package travel contract because of special circumstances caused by COVID-19. The traveler's right to terminate package travel arrangements because of special circumstances caused by COVID-19 exists in parallel with the traveler's right to terminate the package otherwise provided for the conformity with the Package Travel Directive. Because of special circumstances, the traveler's right to terminate the package is postponed for 180 days following the cessation of these special circumstances. In other words, in the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic plus additional 180 days, the traveler will not be able to terminate the package travel agreement. However, the right to a refund in the case of termination continues to be recognized in favor of the traveler. It ensures from the amendments to the Travel Services Act that the organizer does not have any right to terminate the package travel agreement for special circumstances caused by COVID-19. The organizer's protection is achieved on the basis of two rules. The realization of the package travel agreement is postponed until after the expire of 180 days following the cessation of special circumstances if, after the expiry of this time limit, the traveler does not terminate the package. The refund of the traveler's payment is postponed if the traveler has terminated the package. We can expect that the new rules on the termination of package travel agreements because of COVID-19 pandemic will contribute to a more equitable regulation of the legal relations between travelers and organizers when it comes to package travel contracts. These new rules make it possible for organizers to achieve economic stability once the COVID-19 pandemic is over and to re-establish their activities. In the amendments of the Tourist Services Act, apart from the new right of the traveller to the termination of package and the new obligation of organizer to issue a voucher, there is no detailed rules on the realization of the new rights to termination. Therefore, in the practice may arise in the application and interpretation of the new provisions some problems. For example, how is the cessation of special circumstances established? What is the time limit within which, after the cessation of special circumstances, the traveller may terminate the package, and so on? Regarding any open questions concerning the termination of the package because of COVID-19, other provisions of the Tourist Services Act and the Obligations Act will apply in a subsidiary manner. The problems which have arisen in the legal relations between travellers and organizers in the case of package travel agreements because of COVID-19 pandemic show that the existing rules on the travellers' and organizers' rights provided for the contract due to extraordinary circumstances such as COVID-19 are not quite suitable for the solution of specific problems emerging in tourist industry at the time of crisis caused by the pandemic. Therefore, it is necessary to consider the possibility of regulating in a concentrated manner the new aspects of package travel arrangements, not only at the national but also at the European level. I hope that in the future we will have more and better opportunity to discuss new developments in package travel industry, and on the end I send you greetings from Croatia and thank you for your listening. Goodbye.